It's the opposite of comforting that two leaders who look increasingly senile potentially hold world peace in their hands. You've got the doddery US President Joe Biden, who at 79, and amid speculation he could be plagued by dementia, was barely able to stumble through a scripted address on the Ukraine crisis, let alone rally the Western world behind him after his shameful Afghanistan withdrawal.
Last night, Putin authorized Russian forces to deploy into these regions. So let's begin to, I'm going to begin to impose sanctions in response. The world heard clearly the full extent of Vladimir Putin's twisted rewrite of history. But Russia has only escalated its threat against the rest of Ukrainian territory, including major cities and including the capital city of Kyiv. The United States and our allies and partners remain open to diplomacy. Probably have more to say about this as it moves on. I'm hoping diplomacy is still available. Thank you all very much.
Then there's tyrannical Putin, who is a decade younger than Biden but has been branded by the jailed Russian opposition leader Alexei Navalny as a senile, drunk grandfather who would be funny if he wasn't in charge of the nuclear codes. Based on his fantastical and somewhat deranged recent addresses to rightly sceptical Russians, Navalny is not wrong.
First, I will start by saying that modern Ukraine was entirely created by Russia, by Bolshevik communist Russia to be exact. This process began right after the 1917 revolution. Let me stress it again. Ukraine is not just a neighbouring country. It is an integral part of our history, culture and spiritual continuum. Grateful descendants have taken down Lenin's memorials in Ukraine. They call it decommunization. Do you want decommunization? Well, it fits us well, but there is no need to.
It's at this moment where the UK and the world actually should be grateful and relieved we have a steadfast and focused Boris Johnson in charge, not a Putin apologist like Jeremy Corbyn, who we must never forget Keir Starmer wanted to be Prime Minister at this moment. As Boris Johnson rightly pointed out today, Labour remains full of lefty cranks who believe NATO is the aggressor in this Putin-created mess.
I hear somebody on the opposite benches say that this is so far weak. It's not. It's strong. And it's going to be very strong. Something that would be strong, Mr. Speaker, would be to take the whip away from the 14 members of the Labour Party who say that the aggressor in Ukraine is NATO. That would be a strong thing to do.
Corbyn retains significant sway in his party, with the Corbyn Peace and Justice Project tweeting, "Only dialogue will make a difference. This is the path that our own government must now pursue rather than stoking up endless conflict." That follows this exchange in the House between Corbyn, who of course now sits as an independent MP, and the Defence Secretary, Ben Wallace.
Would he be prepared to countenance, if the Russians pull back, any reduction in the NATO presence on the border as well, in order to bring about a longer-term secure peace in the region?
We didn't put 165,000 combat troops on the edge of a sovereign country and hold a gun to the head of a democratically elected government. We didn't do that. Russia did that. We have nothing to de-escalate from. Russia does. And I do hope the right honourable gentleman might condemn the Stop the War coalition, who seems to always paint us as the aggressor. Maybe he'd like to go and ask the people of Ukraine what he actually thinks who the aggressor is.
Now, there has been much criticism, including from the Tory right, that Boris hasn't gone far enough with his sanctions package. But I trust the PM that this is only the beginning, with stronger financial punishments in reserve to be unleashed the further Putin goes down his crazy and totally unnecessary path. First to be targeted will be a larger group of Russian oligarchs and individuals close to Putin, and the UK will send more weapons to Ukraine in days. The hawkish Foreign Secretary Liz Truss has assured us nothing is off the table. That is the right approach. And while I like to keep politics out of sport wherever possible, I actually agree with Truss that British football clubs should boycott a potential Champions League final in St. Petersburg in May, given the perilous circumstances.
Should the football match go ahead in St. Petersburg, the UEFA final? What's your view? Yes or no?
No.
Simple as that. If an England team were to get through, should they boycott it?
If I was on the England team, I would boycott it. I would personally not want to be playing in a football match in St. Petersburg, given what the Putin regime is doing.
And you would urge the manager to consider a boycott were an English team to be successful in the stages to get to the final?
Yes.
The match must be moved to London. The British response has shamed that Russian appeaser with small man syndrome, Emmanuel Macron, and showed moral leadership to the world. Thank God Starmer didn't get his way, because we'd have a Putin appeasing premier in Corbyn in place at number 10 Downing Street, and the ramifications for the world would have been truly catastrophic.